I guess on my hair, she looked alright, and with that actually sitting there like this creams, and I had to have them, sis. All 5 of them. Here, I just had, we're gonna discontinue it, but I had to pick up their book of shadows, honey. Color grade makes cheap fan, expensive breeze, good times. Wow, so serious. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, as you can see, I am coming to you all in the barest, rarest, raggediest of forms, honey. I am at home, I am comfortable, and I can say that now because for the past few days, it's something I did not know if I wanted to do, but I'm finally decided that I'm gonna upload this video, and more than likely I'm gonna make it a live premiere so that you all can see everything in the same time that I'm doing things. But basically, I almost did not upload this video because my #1 concern was risking offending anyone involved in the collab. I am someone, if you watch my channel, I hope you all are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you all hit that subscribe button if you haven't. But I am someone who absolutely loves eyeshadows. The only thing I think better than an eyeshadow palette is a collab palette. One of my absolute favorites, my favorite from this particular brand, ODYSSEY, is the collab they did with the Fancy Face, and it is called the Hummingbird Palette. This palette is sold out, but so far this is my favorite from them. I absolutely love greens, but the fact that this has a lot of blues in there, as well as that red shade, which reds and blues are shades that I tend to avoid, I fell in love with it. So, if you all want to see that video, make sure you check that out right here. The thing is, Tina, you know, who is the face, and you know, she's the person behind the brand, the Fancy Face. She just announced she has a new collab coming out with sydneygrace. All I told everybody is, my birthday is September 7th, in case you didn't know. Any and everybody I sent out my wish list to, I told them, if you have not already purchased anything from the wish list, and you do intend to do so, please put that purchase on hold, freeze it. What I want, my #1 wish for my birthday now, is that Fancy Face palette. I don't care. I want it. I want it. I want it. I want to support sydneygrace and improve and expand my collection. But what I really want to do is let the Fancy Face know we out here supporting you, girl. If you're going to do another collab palette, I gotta have it. I got to have it. The thing is, I don't have no money for it. So I'm like, Torrence, what you need to do is go through your collection of sydneygrace products and see what you already have so you'll know what you can add to your collection. Many of you all may remember that last year, Temptalia came out with a group of palettes right here. And these 3 are called the Quintessence, the On the Horizon, and the Radiant Reflection palette. And they're empty, so I'm not scared of picking it up like this. Let me pick this up here. It creates this beautiful thread. I don't know how I maybe thought this was about to be easy to pick up real fast. She is not. Yeah, I can get it like that if I do one on each side. Bam. She is inspired by space. She loves it, and it is beautiful. And with shades in here like, let's see, UMBRA, ORION, NEBULA, AURORA, BOREALIS, GALACTIC, MUSE, INTERSTELLAR, Celestial Bloom, Milky Way. Things like that, you can tell, you know, the space-inspired shade names and things like that. I'm already getting nervous talking. Torrence, we said we was going to do it. Let's get it out there. Basically, Temptalia did 3 palettes with sydneygrace last year. I love them. I am someone who loves and supports Christine. Christine is the person behind the brand Temptalia, and I've been telling you all for years. If for any reason, let's say you come out with an eyeshadow palette like this one, and you realize, okay, I really love this palette, but I might not want to keep it, or it has gotten old, and I really want a dupe for this shade here. Chances are, of course, one person can't review everything. You can go to Temptalia.com, search that particular shade, and find very similar, if not identical dupes from other brands, if not that same brand, and find shades that you may not have realized you have in your collection already. And I do that all the time, especially if a palette is discontinued, or if, let's say, a brand comes out with the palette and all I want is 1 or 2 shades from that palette, check to see if Christina has reviewed it and see if I have something in my collection already so I don't have to buy that. The thing is, last year, I never got a chance to do videos for the first 2 palettes. I did one for the Radiant Reflection, which was the 3rd palette, because I did a poll on my channel, asked you all, did you all want to see it? And you all said yes, this was the one you all chose. And so I used it, but the problem was, in my opinion, all 3 really seemed to look like a rainbow palette to me. It was really hard to create one cohesive look that satisfied me without dipping from this palette to that palette to that palette. And although I don't mind doing that behind the scenes, it may be hard to get reviews and things up for you all if you feel as if you have to do too much to recreate the look. And so I had just been watching online, and there's a young lady who also does YouTube. Her name is Lauren May. She has a channel called Lauren May Beauty, and I was watching her video where she showed she depotted all 3, created one large palette that she loved, and then she took all the other shades and put them with her Sydney Grace singles. Many people who love Sydney Grace collects their singles. And I was like, wait, I forgot you can depot these. These are not glued in. They could be rearranged. Normally, I would just rearrange one palette in itself. As you can see, I took them all out. I would have normally just taken them all out, rearranged the colors, and then just kept it going. But every time I did that, I realized the colors just did not do it for me. I wanted a little more. I wanted to swap shades, but doing that behind the scenes would have been okay, but I wanted to show you all how I did it. And my biggest fear was offending Christine by saying, I don't like the layout of the way you did things. This is the way I preferred it. I didn't want these to come off as being disrespectful or hurtful, saying that although I truly do enjoy the formula, I enjoy the colors, it's the color story in each one that I wish was a little bit different. And then something came to me. I kept trying to tell myself, Torrence, you have to be able to be open and honest with yourself. If that's how you truly feel, it's okay to say, I don't have the same views as you when it comes to color story. There's nothing wrong with that, but I did not want to once again risk offending Christine, knowing she's someone who's been a very big inspiration in my life. But last night, Mel Thompson's channel popped across my timeline and reminded me that she had did a palette with Sydney Grace as well, which I still haven't used. I made sure I got it for collector's purposes, and I'm gonna make sure I do a video with this one. But after I watched that video of her introducing her palette, another video came up where it showed that she had depot and rearranged all of her Sydney Grace palettes and shown 3 new palettes that she had created. And I said, you know what? Thank you, Mel, for that final push to let me know that this is what I should do, because I really enjoy the palettes. I enjoy all the colors. It's just, I never use one at a time, and I want to be able to rearrange them into a format and a color story that I love myself. I know we've been talking long enough, but it's time to finally pull things up, show you what I'm talking about, and show you exactly what they look like before I switched them around, how I grouped them together, and then the final color stories that I came up with. And I'm also going to give you all swatches of all of these. And before we get started, honey, let me grab my phone, because I have some notes on here that I need to tell you all to show how I came to everything. And baby, that's crazy. We almost 8 minutes into this video and I'm still just blabbering my mouth. But I'll make sure I leave a timestamp on there for that so people can jump straight to what they want to see. Okay, let's pull this up. The first palette, it came in the top one here, was called Quintessence. And they said that this palette here was considered, well, Temptalia said, because I went to her page to pull up the review, she described this as a mix of cool and warm tones. I'm going to open this up for you all and show you what it looks like depotted. When I look at this, I see this here, and it does come off as cool and warm tones. The thing is, for me, the shimmers reflect that. The mattes much more lean cool tone to me. So anytime I wanted to use this palette, that's what I saw was warm and cool shimmers, but cool tone mattes. So technically there is a mix. It's just because the mattes were so cool tone, that's usually what I saw when I, looked at this palette. And so usually the one thing I would do is go in with these cool tone mattes, and then I would use the cool tone shades with it. The warm tones probably would have got used with other things. And because I want you all to see exactly what this looks like, I'm gonna make sure I slide over to the side, honey, because this is what this color story looks like close up. As you can see, there is a mixture of warm and cool. So you can see those greens right there, shades number 4 and 5, right next to each other. One is definitely warmer than the other. I think if you also look at shades number 3 and shades number 7 with those purples, you can tell the difference between those as well. And I also want to show you all the swatches of those so you all can see that once it's swatched out, you really do get the vibrancy and the color story behind it. I think just looking at it in the pan, you don't get to appreciate the true color story. Next up was palette number 2. This one is called On the Horizon, and this was described by Temptalia as grungy cool tones. Now, out of all of them, I really think this is the one that caught my eye the most. The fact that you have a matte green with shimmer greens, you have matte neutrals and shimmer neutrals. The only thing I would have wanted was a deeper green and a black, but they gave us a deep dark blue that can complement that green. So to me, out of all of them for myself, this is probably the prettiest one. And I want to make sure I show you all a close-up view of this one up close. A close-up view of this one up close, baby. But as you all can see in the pan, she looks one way. She's nice, she's beautiful, but once she's swatched out, you can really see how beautiful that color story is. The one shade that I was worried about though, that third green shade, I usually swatch all my colors one time over no primer. That shade was swatched 2, maybe 3 times, and she just did not quite build up the way I wanted her to in swatches. The thing is, swatches are not everything, and with this being a grungier palette, I never expect the palette to swatch as beautiful as it performs. Anytime I get purples, blues, or cool tones, I always expect the performance to be better than the swatches. The last one, the one that I've used before, you all have seen this before because I have a video for this one. I'll leave that video right there. The thing is, this is the one you all chose because she is the definition of a rainbow palette. And Temptalia described this as rich jewel tones, but not neon. And when you look at it, you see all the colors of a rainbow. They are deep, dark, rich jewel tones. And because I want you all to have a closer view, I'm gonna put that up right there. And you all can see, you got your red, your orange, your yellow, your green, your blue, your purple. And this palette has matte shades in there as well. There aren't one for every shade of the rainbow, but with 12 colors, there couldn't be. But you can see once swatched out, these colors are beautiful. And what surprised me though was the shade that appears to give me the best swatch is that yellow, which I said in my original review. And you all know, I don't like golden yellows. I feel as if it looks like jaundice on my yellow skin. I'm someone who prefers much more cool tones to neutral tones. And so she ain't my favorite, but performance-wise, she is that girl. And so I took all of these colors out because I knew trying to rearrange them would be very difficult with a magnet inside the palette. So all 3 are empty right here. I'm gonna pull these over to the side. And what I decided to do was depot them all and put them in 3 separate palettes just so I can get them organized. And after watching Laura Mae Beauty's video, I decided I did not want to take the time to label each one of these because they have really long names. I didn't want to risk misspelling anything or getting not enough space to write them. So what I did was take that very first palette. Let me pull her up. She's called Quintessence. And so what I did was just label them on the back because Q1 through Q12. So this will be Q1 through Q6, Q7 through Q12, and they have individual labels on the back there. Let me see if you all can see that, where I can identify them if for any reason they get jumbled up or mixed. And I wanted to keep them separate like this instead of pulling them all out together so that shades don't get confused. We have the same thing on the back. This here is the second palette on the horizon. We have OTH 1 through 6, OTH 7 through 12, and you can just grab this one here. This should be OTH 9. And she might be upside down, but let me flip her over so you all can see that. And so we're going to put her back in. And then we did the same thing with the last palette, the Radiant Reflections, RR 1 through 6, and then RR 7 through 12. And just to make sure I still have them organized, we're just going to grab a random one here, RR 3. And it looks like everything is still properly organized. And so what I want to do first, before we organize these shades, is I'm going to cut away, group them all together by color story, and when I come back, I'll show you which colors we have together before we pick our final layout. So I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, I am back, and I want to show you all how I separated everything according to colors. So we have 2 separate palettes that I have to show you before we move on, and I want to give you all a close-up view of what I have here so far. This is a palette of greens, blues, and neutrals, and I wanted to make sure I pull this back so I can show you all what I did. This area here is the greens, this area here is the blues, we have our neutrals here, and then because I have 2 shades that didn't fit anywhere, this yellow gold here, although I consider gold to be a neutral, she's so bright and so yellow, there were no other shades that fit that shade, but I'm like, this could technically complement the greens. It could go over here, but these are so cool tone that I'm like, yeah, no. This shade here, I believe is either a dual chrome or multi-chrome, but I had no other shade like this. It appears to have like some blue, some green, and some purple flip to it. So I'm like, right now we're not sure, because we love dual chromes and multi-chromes and you got some green to you, we're gonna leave her right here. We took the next set of colors, put those in this palette here. And let me give you a close-up view of what this looks like. And in this palette, I have my purples, my pink, my reds, and my warm neutrals. And I put these here because according to Temptalia, all of these shades up here are referred to as either purple or plum or something like that. Even these 2 on the end that looks like they could have a strong blue in them, it's more of a flip, but they all are considered purple or plum. And so I wanted to put all 10 of those up there, and I'm like, Torrence, the fact that these palettes only have 12 shades and you got 10 right here that's purple, more than likely you're gonna have an all purple palette. She was the only one up here considered pink, so she's up here by herself. These 2 are considered red shades, so I have those down here. And these 4 down here are my warm neutrals. You have an orangey matte, a brownish matte, and I believe this one here was considered a dark peach. This one here is considered a copper. So I'm like, they're gonna look orange on my eyes. Might as well get those together. So then I pulled them all aside and I'm like, Torrence, how can you rearrange these colors? How can you get them to a point where the color story makes sense to you, but you can also stick to what Temptalia did? Because I like the fact that she named them Quintessence, which is supposed to be a mix of warm and cool tones. So I'm like, Torrence, why not try to do that? You got 6 cool tones and 4 mattes over here that's warm. Let's look at that. Let me see. You got these 6 cool tones here. You got these 4 mattes here. So I'm like, that's a mix of warm and cool. You just have to find 2 other shades to go with it. So I'm like, not sure which 2 I would use. More than likely, these 2 reds. Y'all extremely warm tone. I don't like red tone warms, but when I think of one of the best-selling neutral palettes of all time, it's like the Modern Renaissance. That had a pop of red in it, so I'm like, that might work. What could go with these purples? Any of those cool tone neutrals could do it. That dual chrome could do it. That blue could do it. This pink could do it. These reds could do it. So I'm like, okay, that could be another palette. What could be another palette? I got, what, 8 greens. All I got to do is add something to it. These neutrals could be it. These 2 could be it. Those blues could be it. I love greens with purples, or I could even use those warm mattes from this palette to help round it out. I'm like, everything don't have to be green. Someday I might want a brown smoke. So I'm like, okay, Torrence, let's put all of this down and let's look at what she said. We already figured out Quintessence could be warm and cool. On the Horizon is considered grungy cool tones. So grungy, I'm automatically thinking my greens. So more than likely On the Horizon will be my greens. Radiant Reflection, rich jewel tones. Those purples look like rich jewel tones to me. So she might be Radiant Reflection. So what we're gonna do is, now that we have these organized and grouped together by colors, I'm gonna cut the camera back off, group all of these together, and when we come back, I'm gonna show you exactly what shades I have in each palette, and then I'll also give you swatches. So give me 1 second, be right back. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I am so proud of myself. When I look at this color story and I snuck and took a picture and sent it to a couple of friends that do makeup in real life, and they all said the same thing, like, baby, those look like 2 completely different palettes. It looked like the ones that they sold you and the ones you got now, you did that. And so I want to go ahead and show you all. I was able to go ahead and keep the names here, and I tried to use the same inspiration that Temptalia had for her palettes when I used these, and I'm not gonna lie to you all, they are so pretty. So we're just gonna stop. The first one, once again, is Quintessence Deep. This is a mix of cool and warm tones. Now, first off, I want to show you all that even though this is a 12-pan palette, what I decided to do to make things easier for me was to envision 2 6-pan palettes instead of trying to come up with one big color story, because you had certain ones like the greens where there were enough to do a 6-pan palette, but because there were only, I think, 8 of them, you had to come up with 4 other colors to complement that. And it's like, this would be easier if I can shrink that down. And so that's what I did. But we did bring them all together to make one big palette. So although I envision it as 2 6-pans, we're gonna show it to you as 12s. First one, Quintessence, a mix of warm and cool tones. Look at this here, you all. Baby, tell me that is not a mix of warm and cool tones. She is so pretty. She is so pretty. And I was able to go ahead and put them back in here. And I don't know why I'm showing it to you all like this. Actually, let me just slide over some, because I'm just so happy at it. Like, look at this close up. Before I put her back in the palette, I wanted to show you all what she looks like once I got the colors organized. And I also want to go ahead and show you all swatches. Now, what I did for swatches was swatch the left half of the palette. Let me bring this up close for you all first. What I decided to do for swatches, instead of swatching the whole 12-pan, what I did was swatch, say, these 6 here first, top row, then bottom row, so you can get that on one side. Okay, so here's the warm side we have. So then I swatched these left to right, top row, then bottom row. And I think I'm gonna do that for all 6 palettes. But once again, I wanna slide over, give you all a close-up view of those swatches. Ain't she pretty? I ain't gonna lie. Some of those cool mattes is giving us a little dustiness, a little, you gotta build her up. But once you actually use the shadow, no issue. But tell me those swatches are not beautiful for my Quintessence palette. And although I can't tell you the name of every shade here, before this video goes up, I will have all the shades listed in the description bar below. I'll have the original layout, plus underneath it, I'll have them listed as the tag number that I have. So say for this first palette, the original first shade would have been Umbra. So I would have listed Umbra as Q01 for Quintessence 01. And I'm gonna do that for all of them. But I'm telling you all, just looking at that warm and cool tone palette, it's like, she is pretty. And you don't know how many of my friends was like, baby, if I get those 3 or if I get all 3 palettes, you got to rearrange mine for me, because that is beautiful. And I just got to show y'all one more time. Like, look at that warm and cool tone palette. Tell me she not an updated modern renaissance. Just fabulous. Next up, we have On the Horizon. On the Horizon was grungy cool tones. Now, I couldn't do all cool tones because I put most of them in that palette. But when I think of grungy, green comes to mind. And I had to think about it like, Torrence, if you could come out with a palette, exactly what would you do? Y'all already know, all greens. You gave me 8 and I only need 6. That's enough for me. But then I had to think about it. What do you consider cool? Stepping outside of your comfort zone and using colors you're not comfortable with? one of y'all favorites is blues, so I had to do a green and blue palette. And look at her, sis, look at her. Oh my goodness. Baby, she is fabulous, she is fabulous, she is fabulous. Once again, came to this side, wanted to make sure I did me a green palette, so we'll swatch those left to right, top row, then bottom row. Then you come over to this side, where I usually don't feel comfortable with these type of shades. Look at that blue, look at that. Almost called it a quad, baby, that ain't what it is. You got mattes, you got shimmer blues, and then we have those two teals there, but because these teals are so blue heavy, I had to put that there with this pop of yellow because I know yellows and blues mix to make green. And I took all the shades that I either wouldn't love, except these two teals, I love me some greens, and put them together, and it'll make me want to use all of these together. So I'm like, yeah, so let me slide over, give y'all a close-up view of what it looked like before I put it in the palette. That's what they look like, honey. And once I finally got that arrangement together, I was like, this is it. And then tell me those swatches ain't beautiful. Now, I ain't gonna lie, that very first green shade, that swatch ain't doing it. I literally, all my swatches are usually one time over, no primer. That light green, once again. Several swatches, and she just did not want to perform as a swatch, but on the eye she is fabulous. It's just she's a light green, but I was happy about that palette. And this last one, she's a stunner, honey. She's a stunner like the first two. This one is the Radiant Reflection, and they call this Rich Jewel Tones. Now this palette, I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot easier to create this palette because there were already 10 shades that were qualified as purple. So it was like, you only got to figure out 2 other shades to add to it. And this is what we came up with. Look at this purple. Every month I usually do a purple look for my friend Lorraine Johnson Coleman, and I see me coming back and dipping into this for that because I'm like, baby, warm purples, cool purples, light purples, dark purples, matte purples, shimmer purples, and you see I had to put those 2 there to separate it. So although this technically is looking like a 2 6-pan palettes, I wanted to make sure I put 1 row of purples on top, 1 row on bottom. Of course, you got some that look a little more neutral, but some that's much more bold and over on the top. These last 2 shades over here was the only pink, which I figured would complement these purples. This last shade here was that dual chrome, multi-chrome shade, and I figured just because this is already jewel tone, it's already over the top, why not spice things up because this does have a purple shift to it, so it was perfect. But once again, you got 2 6-pans you can create. For me, this one here is beautiful. She's much more, I would say, she gives me a euphoric vibe. Like, she has her mattes, but there are so many different finishes and colors on that side. You could use that for anything. And then you got this side here full of your jewel tones. Now, this would be all shimmers. But as someone who doesn't mind an all matte or all shimmer palette, this gives you different varieties and different tones of purples. It's not just a one-hit wonder. I had to, and I want to swatch over and slide over so y'all can see the swatches of that. Look at that color story. Once again, I'm showing to y'all as 2 separates just so you all can see the color stories that I was coming up with. But those swatches, yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. That's where the beauty comes in at when you see the variety. I personally do wish those 2 darker shimmery purples on the right were a little bit different, like one had a lighter base to it or something like that, but they are beautiful. And once I put all of these together and had to come over here like Torrence, look at what the brand created and look at what you created. And I'm just here to say, honey, I like my layout a little bit more, and I don't know why I felt so guilty. Yes, I do. I felt guilty about it because I knew I was taking the view and the color story that someone else had created, and I was just tearing it apart. It's like, honey, you don't buy the Mona Lisa and then decide you're going to change your hairstyle up on it. No, you experience the art for what it is, and you just enjoy it. But I'm like, Torrence, you still have colors that were inspired by Christine. You still have the packaging because you think that's beautiful. It's just, for me, I really feel as if I would get much more use out of this if everything was laid out the way I feel comfortable with and it didn't confuse me, because I want to see if I can lift this up and show you all now what she looks like without blinding y'all with this mirror or myself. But I'm telling y'all, I'm trying to pick these up and I'm gonna scream if I drop it. I promise y'all. So let me be careful. Look at these three here now. Ooh, baby, I'm getting scared. Look at those. Let me come a little closer, sis. Look at this and tell me this doesn't look much more organized to you all. If I want something warm tone, I know to go to that top palette. If I want something that's my favorite like a green or my least favorite like a blue, I know they're in that middle palette. And if I want something that's going to excite the public, because no matter what colors I wear, purples always brings the girls. Women love purple eyeshadow, and anytime I wear purple eyeshadow, they go crazy and stop me and ask me what I'm wearing. But I just see these three palettes and I go, oh my God, Temptalia, this is what you were giving us? I could have traveled with this by itself for something professional like a business meeting, a work office meeting, a doctor's office, anything like that. But I didn't know I had this variety all at one time. I would have never dipped and reached and saw all of these colors if I wanted a cool tone look to see that gray, that taupe, that gray, and that black, and then one of these cool tone shades. But then in the same time, later on that night, if I want something warm to go out, matte, and if I want to go orange or red, they're all here. All my favorites any and every day of the week. I don't mind the green, but maybe I want to spice things up for a party and add that pop of blue because that always draws attention. I got it there. It's all right here. This will be that palette that I would never want to get rid of because it has such beautiful greens. And then this last one, this purple one, baby, I'm already debating on pulling her up and using her later on today. But what I really need to do is make sure I go ahead and do my skincare because, baby, oh, excuse me, went to go help my best friend out yesterday. That's why y'all didn't get this video yesterday. Sunscreen was layered. Everything was fine. But when I tell y'all, we had to run errands for so long, I forgot and left my sunscreen at home. So those first few hours, I was okay. Those last few hours, you see that one day tan? Baby, I'm going to have to stay inside for a while because I'm not even sure if my foundation shade going to match because I'm looking way more tan than normal. But when I tell you, I need you all to vote for me and let me know which one y'all want to see a tutorial for because I got to get them going. Once again, that mix of warm and cool tones for the Quintessence. If you want to see my new version of the Quintessence, we can do a tutorial with this. And I honestly might try to make it a two-look tutorial where I do one look with the left side, one with the right side. So if you want to see a warm cool with Quintessence, put that in the comments. If you would rather see two looks with the On the Horizon palette, which is my grungies, you'll get my favorites green and my least favorite blue to see what's going on with that. Or if you would like to see the Radiant Reflection, which I may still do Radiant Reflection regardless just to get a purple look out for Lorraine. I know I'll get one out for her, but I may not use this particular one. If you want to see two purple looks with this, where you can see a lighter purple and a darker purple, and honestly, that might be a good challenge to see me do an all purple look using all shimmers. My hooded eyes with a purple in the crease, a shimmery. Baby, that'd be a challenge, but you all know I love you all and I'm willing to get it done for you. And just for this video, I want to say first, thank you to Christine for the inspiration and the palettes, honey. I love you, I support you. I just truly hope you are not offended by the fact that I have rearranged these because, baby, it was the only way I was gonna get use out of them. I was not gonna be able to make these everyday palettes if the color story made my eyes jump all over the place. And I feel much more comfortable with these now, so I have them. Tina from the Fancy Face, honey, be on the lookout, sis, because I told everybody I need that palette. Sydney Grace, I need that palette, honey. If y'all want to send it to me, go ahead. And thank you to Mel once again, honey. You've been an inspiration for years, and you're still inspiring others. You gave me the courage to go ahead and do this video, and while this camera was off, what I did not realize is these shades are magnetic as well. I had That magnetic sounded so terrible. These shades are magnetic as well, and I had no clue. I looked at this and figured because they were square pans, they would be glued down, but I took my little magnet right here and tried to pop one of these little shades out. This bottom brown one here is called Spider. Let me see. Spider comes straight out. He was right here. So I'm like, Torrence, you keep telling yourself you don't like this color story, and that's why you haven't used it, because it gets your eyes jumping just like the other one. With this palette, you can rearrange these 15 shades, make it look better for yourself, put more content out to keep others aware of Mel, and going to watch her video again. I think that's what we're going to do over the weekend. So what I think that's going to be it. We might have to make a whole week of Sydney Grace videos where we do 2 looks with one of these palettes and then finally get my Tiny Marvels out as a first impressions, because I really need to use this because their formula is immaculate. And to know that I have a bunch of deeper shades in these palettes, I now, even though I don't like lighter pastel-y shades, I now got transition shades that I didn't have before. You got dark purples in that palette. This light purple will be a beautiful transition. Same thing with this green, and I'm like, and you got more lighter warm tone shades, Torrence. This will complement my other palette beautifully, honey, beautifully. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I get this video up for you all. I need to cut this camera off because I need to get this edited up and done for a live premiere with you all today. Is there anything else? I think that is all, honey. I just wanted to make sure I didn't offend anybody, but I also wanted to make sure I could inspire others. If you all have these palettes, please let me know and leave me a comment down below letting me know which one is your favorite. Also, do not forget, make sure you all are subscribed to the channel and that you leave me a comment letting me know which one you want to go first. I might even put up a poll after this video goes up so everyone can vote and see which one that they would like to see. But it's time to go ahead and clean things up because, baby, my bathroom is a mess. I had to do those swatches, and you could probably see it's still a little bit of staining on my arm because some of those blacks and purples left that there. So baby, I don't see me doing swatches tomorrow, but because we got those out today, we won't have to. I just wanted to make sure I get this up and out, and now it sounds like you mumbling and repeating yourself. So with nothing else, I hope you all remember to practice, continue to stay blessed, and until next time, goodbye, YouTube.